Hello and welcome to Gamers Table, a discussion of tabletop role-playing games, war games, movies, books, and other related topics. Be warned, this show may contain some explicit material that may not be suitable for all audiences. Hello and welcome to Gamers Table. My name is Eric.
This is Mike.
This is Dan.
This is Mark.
This is Jason.
And I'm Sean.
This episode we're going to talk about romance.
Yeah.
Lovers in games.
Or what Mark likes to call flirting with Mike.
Flirting with Mike is one of the downfalls to this, unless, of course, you know, Mike, you're flirtable.
I'm very comfortable, and I don't feel like it's flirting with.
Mike roleplays women so well, you suspend your disbelief, and you actually get into the role, and you can actually hit on Mike, you know, ignoring facial hair and everything.
Hey.
No, not really.
No.
Okay, no.
I struggle.
But, no, it's funny.
I've just got weird imagery right now of our goatees getting stuck together.
Wow.
I'm a very visual person.
I don't think that's visual.
No.
It's horrible. Is
Now,
what that is.
now I need mental douche.
That seems very tactile to me. Not visual at all.
Line in the sand.
Okay. Romance and love is a very important human necessity. And
I don't know. I'm doing all right.
this is, of course, role-playing, if you're going to role-play more of a realistic kind of game. If you're playing a game that is one-off games, things like that, you're really not concerned about that unless you can trump up some conflict or drama or something like that with your game. If you say, hey Jason, this time I'm going to make your lover and we're going to be lovers.
If you're imposing that on someone else.
Those are words that have never been spoken.
Maybe they should have.
In a fantasy setting, I think it's definitely necessary because a better sword, more gold, treasure, those are kind of hollow goals.
Yeah.
Right.
Courting Countess Ballistica. Now that's a long-term goal,
Right.
And it brings into play all the aspects of the game that aren't combat, all the social interactions and social skills, and it places value on those. So you have to make a bit more well-rounded character if you want to be an actual type of human being in these games.
Charisma's my favorite stat.
Yeah,
Not mine.
Comeliness is my favorite stat, and that's why it should be in every game.
the first game that Eric ran for us in Belleville before the two game groups melded, we wouldn't have had the campaign if it wasn't for my character getting involved in a romance with an NPC.
Right.
She was the story hook.
Was that the first time you'd ever played a game where you had a love interest?
Yes, it was. Because I don't think we'd ever really done that before. I mean, back when we were playing Werewolf in high school, we kind of had the whole thing where he's like, well, my next character is going to be the girlfriend of the character I just played last week.
Right. That's essentially playing the previous character's brother.
You can say it's lame.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There's always been a stigma in this group of it's like the guy that's playing the girl is, playing out some kind of psychological thing.
Well, there's always that stigma of, is it cool to play, if you're a guy, to play a female character? Because I think that most male players don't have a clue. No, I'm not. Well, not that. I'm saying a clue on how to truly play a female character.
Well, that's always been my contention.
That's my contention as well. As someone who writes fiction, writing women has always been difficult. The battle between the sexes exists because we don't really understand each other all that well.
But I never really thought of it in a fiction aspect, how difficult it would be to write fiction as a male writing for a female. My best example that I can think of where I actually thought, wow, that's really kind of on the mark, is Robert Jordan. Robert Jordan, when he does in the Wheel of Time, when he switches to female perspective, and a lot of the little nuances that he comes up with really made me step back and go, this is really good, because I wouldn't have thought of something like that. He obviously did a lot of research. He was a great writer to begin with.
Yes, he was.
But, it's that kind of thing where, a lot of times if a male gamer is playing a female character, they're going to play the slut, or they're going to play the lesbian.
Yes.
I prefer to play
or they're going to play a
slutty
guy.
lesbian.
They're going to play
They're just going to play
a
guy.
tomboy.
Or no, it's just a guy, and the fact that they're female is completely glazed over.
Well, I don't really think... I can't think of anybody that's done that.
Again,
Who?
Mike, when we played Shadowrun, his...
Oh, you're talking about...
I think I've covered all of those
Yeah.
in Shadowrun one time or another.
Right.
What I'm saying is if somebody's going to play a character and they make no bones about what sex the character is, as far as why would they even bother designating male or female? You know
Because
what I mean?
I believe there was your house rule where if you played a woman, you got another feat.
Yeah, in D&D we did do that.
Yeah, there was-
It was an
You
incentive
guys were just
rule.
always
works.
looking for
Hey,
another
it never never
way to get a feat.
That never tempted me to make a female character.
I did.
Never,
I totally
never got
did.
Brian to do it.
And I think Woodside did it too.
You
Well,
power game and douches.
Is that why you played Temerity? Is that why you played?
No, that was way before we ever did that.
Before Temerity.
I actually forgot that we used to do that. No, I agree with Dan. I think fantasy probably is a little more. I'm probably thinking about those types of character relationships in fantasy more so than I would
never
be.
think about it in Shadow.
I don't think it's
I'll
Yeah.
tell you why. It's the courtly love
yeah.
thing.
Saving the
Knighthoods
princess.
and
And,
That's
everything.
exactly my
It's
thought as
totally
well.
built into the genre.
right. Now, as far as the role-playing game that we play that's based on a popular series of movies that started in 1977 and, I'm not going to
Is that
say
movie
what it's
about
called.
Boba Fett?
I mean, the characters that I prefer to play in that are total Han Solo ripoff characters, and except that Han Solo obviously fell in love with somebody in the movies. My character could give a crap about falling in love with anybody. He just wants to see how many different
Because you haven't made
female
the right,
alien species he can
you just
bang.
haven't met the right one.
So you're more of a Kirk than a Solo.
Yeah, Kirk.
That's a very good analogy.
Solo. I'm totally making that character.
Although
I'm sure there's
on a
some slash fic out there for that.
on a complete tangent, your Monday character that you play has the most interesting quirk I've ever encountered, and it's become this running gag.
All about the liquid cable
Yes.
rub dispenser.
It was completely like a random thought. of
Throwaway
yours.
thought.
Throwaway thought, and it's become like this running joke. And what it is because you were stuck on a world without any kind of like near human or human females, you started using the liquid cable dispenser. You said it was a 2-part epoxy,
Right.
and you would use one for hair gel
Right.
and the other one to stroke it. And because you were stuck there for months,
Right.
and you played that one time, and after that, the running joke is every time somebody says they're going to use their liquid cable dispenser, they pull the trigger on it, and only half of it comes out, and they go, "Damn you, Denier!"
Wow.
Oh, Jason has problems.
But
Mike, from the perspective of the primary GM for this genre, I think you use this a lot because this is kind of how you manipulate people. Is that by design, or does it just work out that way because we fall into the same ruts?
The romance hooks,
Yeah.
you need to have some kind of opposite sex in there. Otherwise, we're talking about a totally different kind of all male cast. Then
So what you're saying is...
that's the
Yeah, I'm not going to ask.
Yeah, I'm not gonna- anyhow,
how come we never have romance in any of our prison campaigns, Mike?
right?
Or on the pirate ship.
Yes,
Hell, he throws a whole boat
that's
of
why
women in on us.
the goal is getting out of prison as quickly as possible.
Well, I think we have attempted some romance in our current pirate
Yeah.
campaign.
Why wouldn't you? They got a bunch
I mean-
of eunuchs on their boat. They need love.
So true. Those poor eunuchs.
Oh yeah, the potentials is there all the time. No, you need romance hooks or potential relationship hooks to give the characters some kind of meaning, some kind of
Yes.
something to
Something other than
Fight
the quest,
for-
or something to quest for.
something to come back.
Something
to
that you
after
can get
the mission.
emotionally invested
Well,
in. I think
yes.
that's the big
I
one.
think
Yes.
I know Mike used that against my high level character Valcon.
Oh, yes.
That was a part of the storyline was that he was attacked by his
Assassin.
the woman he eventually married was actually a woman hired to kill him.
Very Luke Skywalker, by the way.
So that's
That was way before that.
I understand it.
But that was once he was in a relationship with her and they were married and they started having children. Then you used
that's
Valkon's
that's
family.
like an end game.
you used Valkon's family against him. Mm-hmm. That was you used that as very effectively. I thought there were occasions where I remember Valkon having to take his family and basically take them into hiding.
Yeah.
And that was the main reason I think he moved out of Greyhawk City, or one of the reasons he left Greyhawk City, because there were too many people.
You can't raise
easily get to his family and kill his family. So
You can't raise a family in the city anyway. You got to move out to the burbs.
But I think that's a really good, almost like a real world example. Because if you were this very powerful adventurer person and you've done so many things that you made so many enemies, being a public figure, look at the public figures we have now and the amount of just paparazzi and stalkers and things like that they have. They would have that same problem. And if they had loved ones, they would want to keep them separate.
Right.
Well, we dealt with that pretty well in the superhero campaign with superhero families.
I was trying to think of other games where we've had romance, and that
there
was clearly there
tons
was
of relationships in that.
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Eric was the typical jock who's tried to sleep with all the chicks in the school.
who he pretty much did.
Yeah.
Everyone but my character.
Jason played a girl who wanted Eric to sleep with him, but he wouldn't have any bit of it. My character had a relationship with an older student who ended up being a teacher. We still had the relationship.
Billy Palau.
That's illegal, by the way.
Hey, man.
And
They tend to frown on that, even in
But when
Dan's
it's-
guy, Dan's guy had a crush on a older superhero.
An established superhero, yeah.
And luckily, I had deep pockets, so that worked out in my favor.
That's a really good example too, because that was a knockoff, or not a knockoff, but it was an homage to
TMZ.
TMZ,
honestly.
but also like your
Xavier School.
your
What are you talking about?
your high school social dramas.
Oh, well, yes.
90210,
Junior High,
things like
My
that.
So-Called Life.
16 Candles.
16 Candles. We have high school memories, and you have all these high school shows you can draw from, and then you plug in the TMZ and things like that. It's easy to play with those roles. As a teenager, teenagers aren't emotionally grown up enough to really deal with true relationship stuff.
Yes.
That's
why My So-Called Life jumped to mind.
Yeah, those storylines went a lot better than probably any D&D storylines we've ever done.
yeah.
Because those are usually all life or death, whereas the superhero one, it was all
Drama.
teen angst.
It's all
The
drama.
thing about the Hero High thing was it was a boarding school, and we had to come back to school at the end of
Yeah.
each day. Whereas you're playing D&D, you leave Greyhawk City for months at a time to go on your dungeon crawl.
right.
Well, there were sessions that we played back in the day. And it doesn't really seem to be something we do so much anymore. But, 20 years ago, we would go weeks and weeks without adventuring. And it would literally be us going out on dates, essentially.
Interacting with NPCs.
Because
Yeah.
you weren't yourself actually going on dates at the time.
No, actually, I think, I'm pretty sure Brian and I
it's
were, but
the same as Shadowrun. It was all after missions.
yeah. Well, and then a lot of the stuff we did too was
Sending the
business related, trying to start
your
businesses and buying bars and I
Hanging out
remember
at Dante's.
I mean, we can't really talk about romance.
I just realized something. You were playing house.
Basically, yeah.
You were essentially playing house.
Not the doctor show. He's
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Playing
I was
Dr.
like,
House.
How? I don't understand.
I was like, when you're a small girl and you have your tea set and your dollies.
Well, I did actually have occasion to play house with my sister and some of the other neighbor girls, and I usually ended up getting kicked out because I would totally ruin their game.
Oh, yeah.
So
I was
You
kicked
come-
out of a few houses.
You come in and smack them around and tell them to make,
give me a beer.
bitch, go make me a turkey pot pie.
This game of house just turned into let's play doctor.
Is chicken okay?
I was only allowed to play Barbies with my sister and the neighbor that lived behind us once, and that was shortly after I started making Ken do very foul stuff to the Barbies.
Get out of here! You can't
Why
play with
am
us.
I completely unsurprised?
I'm not surprised at all.
So anyway, we can't talk about romance in games without talking about Brian. I was sitting back and watching Brian and Mike. Brian's character was like 500 years old, courting a human woman. Now, putting aside the whole Highlander, you're going to outlive her and she's going to shrivel up and die
Right.
thing, I remember sitting back and watching Brian doing this, and he's so into the role playing that he doesn't realize what he's doing.
In actuality.
And I just remember sitting back and watching and seeing it dawn on him that he realized what he was doing. he got
my swerve on Mike.
He got totally, you see that football game? That kind of thing. He was always plotting and scheming. And even after he finally landed her, there was something about her. It wasn't just that she was hot. Her character was rich or something like that. I'm sure there was some ulterior motive. Even after he married her, it was like, and then Mike turned into a total nag. when he was playing her, Brian's character's wife, total nag.
Was that Mike just trying to make life imitate art?
Basically,
Art imitate life, right?
Yeah.
So, and I remember Brian plotting and scheming to have his wife assassinated. His character's wife
he did.
assassinated.
I think he did.
Yeah.
He had her murdered?
I think so.
Did he really? I don't remember that.
Wow, what a bastard.
I can't go into any detail.
But I think you touched on something, and Dan, I think you touched on something too, is that for him, he was always more interested in what he could not attain than what he had.
Right.
And that transcended into the game too. He always his character was as bad as Valcon, but he was always jealous of Valcon because of the things that Valcon could do that he couldn't. But I think that's an interesting turn of events though, to really play a character like that who wants to gain everything that he wants, and then when he gets it, he doesn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
It's not as cool to
Which
him.
is real life.
Yeah,
quite often.
it is. It's always, the grass is always greener. And,
Buyer's remorse.
yeah, buyer's remorse, another good example. So I think that if some of these themes, you could put that into role playing, into your character development and things like that, but you would have to have a game